Hello, beautiful people. You're most welcome to Diamond Clothiers. It's always a pleasure to have you here. If this is the first time you're coming across this channel, kindly click on the subscription button and don't forget to put on your notification bell so you can get notified whenever we post new content. So, in today's tutorial, I'm learning how to make this beautiful princess dress. So I have my organdy here, it's 3 yards, and I have my 3 yards of satin and 12 yards of two nets here that I'll be making use of. I'll also be making use of my ad nets as well. Okay, so the first thing I'll be doing is to work on the front part, and I'm gonna head to cut out a piece of fabric, and I'll be chalking my measurements on the fabric. So I'm going to draw a straight line across, and on that straight line I'm going to take my shoulder to shoulder measurement of 6 inches. Okay, so I'm going to take note of that shoulder to shoulder measurement of 6 inches. And for the neckline, I'll be working with the neck depth of 3 inches and the neck depth of 3.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to take note of all these measurements and I'm going to draw my neckline like that. Next thing I'll do right here is to take my shoulder to bust measurement of 7 inches. I'm going to draw a straight line across on that line, and also from shoulder I'm going to take the waist measurement. So the shoulder to waist measurement is 12 inches. I'm going to add extra 1 inch for it for allowance. So that makes it 13 inches. I'm going to chop that 13 inches and draw a straight line across as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take my shoulder slope of 1 inch, but this actually depends on the age of the child you are making the dress for. So you can actually make use of half of an inch for a child that is much younger, and you can as well make use of 0.75. Okay, but I'm making use of 1 inch right here. So I'm going to connect that one into my neckline. Okay, so for the armhole depth, I'm making use of 5.5 inches, right, starting from my shoulder slope. So I'm going to measure 5.5 inches and I'm going to draw a straight line across. Okay, so on that straight line I'm going to divide the measurement I have there by 2, and on the midpoint I'm going to come in by half of an inch. Okay, half of an inch. And on the bust line I'm going to be taking my round bust measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch allowance, which makes 7.25. So I'm going to connect it into a round armhole curve, and on the chest line as well I'm going to be taking my round chest measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch. So on the waistline I'm going to take a nipple to nipple measurement of 3 inches, and then I'm going to be taking a dart of 1 inch. I'm going to roll a straight line upwards up to the chest line. Then on both sides of the dart line, I'm going to be taking half of an inch. Okay, so and I'm then going to take the round waist measurement of 6.25. I'm going to add the 1 inch dart allowance, and then I'm going to add a 1 inch for sewing allowance. Everything sums to 8.25 rather. Okay, so I'm going to connect all these lines together and we are literally done with the front measurement. Just look at what I'm doing. If you feel like this video is kind of too fast, but trust me, you're going to understand everything that I'm doing here. Okay, so when you are done taking all the measurements, just cut it out. And right now, to work on the back piece, I'm going to take another piece of fabric and I'm going to be placing the front on it. And the first thing I'm going to do is to take the zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. Then I'm going to notch the neckline. Okay, so after notching the neckline, I'm going to take the front piece away, and the reason is because the neck depth of the back is going to be deeper than that of the front. So for the neck depth of the front of the back rather, I'm making use of 7.5 inches. So from the neckline I'm going to come down by 7.5 inches, and on that 1.5 inches that we use for zipper allowance, I'm going to connect it with the use of my ruler to connect it into a V neckline. I hope you get what I'm trying to do right there. So our neck depth for the back is 7.5 inches, and then you connect it into a V neckline as you can see me doing. Just do exactly what I'm doing right here. So after that is done, you just cut it out, and don't forget to slash open the center back. Okay, so after cutting out and notching the zipper allowance, I'm gonna need to cut the lining piece as well, and I use the same fabric to cut both the main fabric and the lining piece. So I have two pieces of both the front and the back right here. So I'm going to cut out the rough edges that I have on the front lining, and after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to open up the front, and I'm going to lay the back piece on it, making sure that both the right side are facing each other. So I'm going to do the same thing for both the lining piece and the main fabric. So after doing that, I'll take it to my sewing machine to join the shoulders for both the main fabric and the lining as well. After joining the shoulders, I'm gonna need to take in the dart for both the main fabric and the lining as well, for both the front and the back. So right now I'll be joining the neckline. So what I'll have to do is to place the right side of the main line of the main fabric and the lining together, making sure that the right side are facing each other. And then I'm going to start sewing on my sewing machine from one end of the neckline to the other. So I'm starting from the zipper allowance, okay? As you can see me tracing it out, I'm going to sew from one end to the other end, okay? So after that is done, this is what I have. And right now, this dress is actually a sleeveless dress. So what I have to do right now is to notch the neckline all around. So after notching, I'm going to be joining the armhole together. So to do that, turn your clothes to the right side and make sure that everything lays flat. Because at this point, I will advise that you iron it out first, okay? So after turning it out like this, then you're going to take one piece of the clothes like this, okay? Just look at what I'm doing. Take one piece of the clothes, turn it over. Did you see what I just did? Then you make sure that the armhole aligns, then you sew it around. I'm going to take that again. Make sure that your fabric is lying down flat, okay? You take one piece of the clothes, you turn it over. Did you see what I just did? Make sure that the shoulder aligns, then you take it to your sewing machine to run a stitch on it, okay? So after that is done, make sure that you notch this way. So after notching, you just bring it out. And to do the other side as well, you're just going to repeat the same process. So when you are done, you should have yours looking like this, okay? So the next thing I have to do is to join the sides together. So you're going to take one piece of both sides, of both the front and the back. You connect it together this way, making sure that the armhole aligns, okay? Make sure that it aligns, then you run a stitch on it. Then whatever you do on that side, you are going to repeat it on the other side as well. I hope you get what I'm doing. Just look at the movement of my hands if you feel confused, kind of. Make sure everything aligns properly, and then you take it to your sewing machine to sew it. So when you are done, you should have yours looking like this as well. You can see how neat it looks, right? So right now we'll be working on the down part. So the first part we'll be working on is that side. What will I call it now? I don't know what I can call it actually. So that organdy fabric that we have at the side. So this is what I'm trying to do right now. So I'm gonna head to fold my organdy into two, and the length I have right here, you can just make it as wide as possible, okay? But the length I have right here is 14 inches, and I think it is around probably 34 or 35 inches wide. So what I'm going to do right here is that from one end of my fabric, I'm going to be stitching it all around with my needle and thread. Okay, I'm going to be stitching it all around with my needle and thread from one end to the other. Just look at what I'm doing right here. So after gathering it from one end to the other, you should have yours looking like this as well. You can see what it looks like. Just make sure you're creative with it. Try to use your hand to arrange it. So right now, I'll be cutting out my net. Okay, so the length you need depends actually on the full length of your dress. So when you've gotten the full length of the dress that you want, you're going to deduct your half length from it. Then whatever inches that is left is what you're going to cut out for the net length. Okay, so you can just decide to add few inches to it, and what you're going to do is just to cut it out and gather it. So for me, I'm making use of two layers. I have 6 yards of net actually, and I've cut it out into two, and I'm just gathering it with my needle and thread. The next thing I did right here is that I've worked on my lining, even though I'm using my satin as the lining as well. Okay, so I'm gonna have to cut out add net of 7 inches, and I've just sewn it all around. So right now we'll be fixing all of this together. This is where the work really is. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take this side design that we have, okay, and I'm going to be placing it on the side. Okay, I'm going to be placing one edge of that design on the back dart, and the other edge is going to be on the front dart. Okay, so the center should also fall by the side joining that we have. Just look at what I'm doing right there. So I'm gonna to do one side, and I'm going to do the same thing to the other side as well. I'm just using my darts as a guide, the front dart and the back dart. That's what I'm using as a guide, and then the center I aligned it with the side as well. So after doing that, I'm just going to pin it down. You can just decide to take it to your sewing machine to just hold it down first before we continue joining the other parts. So after doing that, this is what I have. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to place it like this, and I'm going to place my net on top of it. I'll make sure that the sides aligns. So after placing my net on the front piece, I'm going to be placing my main lining as well. My main lining, I'm making use of a bridal satin too. I'll make sure that the right side is also facing the net. Just look at what I'm doing. Just take this part slowly. So right now for the lining too, lining that carries the ad net, you are going to be placing it under the bodies of the dress. I'm going to be placing it under the bodies of the dress, making sure that the right side is facing the wrong side. The right side of your lining that carries the net should face the wrong side of the bodies. Okay, so just look at what I did right here. You can see that the lining comes first, then the bodies, then the net, and then the lining. Just look at what I'm doing and make sure you connect the sides together. Make sure that everything aligns properly. So for my own lining, the main lining actually it was kind of bigger, so I just splitted it a bit while I was joining. You can see how thick it looks after I was joining. So when you are joining it, you have to be very careful on your sewing machine. Okay, so we are doing all of this just to make sure that everything is neat, just to hide the rough edges of the clothes. So when I'm done, this is what I have. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm sorry, I'm going to show you a proper video. You can see the back, right? You can see the inside rather. You can see that all these joining they are actually inside. So the next thing I'll be working on right now is the upper bodies, that design that is at the shoulder, that is in front. Okay, so what I have right here, the length is around 18 inches. I'm going to be folding it in. So what I have right here is around 18 inches, and for the length you have to measure your clients from one shoulder to the other shoulder, round shoulder. Okay, make sure you measure it, whatever measurements you have there, add like 2 inches to it just to make that design to fall a bit. So this is what I have, and I'm just trying to drape the center front. So after draping, I'm going to place it on the center front of the dress. I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'm going to run a straight stitch on it. And you can decide not to take it to your sewing machine and just use your needle and thread. This actually depends on the type of applique or design that you want to place on it. Okay, so I actually used my needle and thread to do that, or I advise that you take it to your sewing machine to just run a straight stitch on it. So for the sides, you're going to drape it as well, and then you're going to connect it to the side at the back. Okay, you can see where I'm touching, just connect it to the side at the back towards the armhole at the back, and you can just make it to be towards the zipper. It actually depends on you. Okay, so just be creative with it. After you decided where you want to place it, take it to your sewing machine and stitch it down. So we are literally done with this. The only thing I have left to do is just to put my design on it, my applique. I'm going to place my applique on it, and I'm just going to use my needle and thread to hold it down. Okay, so and also to attach the zipper. So if you're attaching the zipper, just measure the length where you want your zipper to be, and then you close the remaining parts. So this is what I have after I was done. You can see that this dress is actually for a child, so I just have to place it on this adult mannequin, and obviously she doesn't have a breast. Okay, so I'm just placing it here just to display so that you can see what it looks like. It's actually prettier than this. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe to this channel. See you in my next video.